DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, and GGBet.
Swedes are not known for being unhealthy or obese, but still, you can find the highest number of McDonald's restaurants per capita in all of Europe. That means there's definitely not a shortage of fast food here. As, well, one might say, no one could have expected that news, and nor did I, as I blatantly just read it right off of this website. I, for one, feel like I have learned something today, and you should do the same. Because if you're not learning something every day, if you're not trying to better your position or yourself, then what in the hell are you really even doing? Anyway, welcome back to DreamHack Open. My name is Trace Saranthus here on this desk, and alongside me will be Blatt and Pimp, these guys right here. What's up, fellas?
That was a pretty surprising fact.
Yeah, it really was.
But I think America would kind of beat them like hands down, obviously. Right?
Well, you know, it was Europe versus like North America, and yeah, I mean, it did come from America.
I mean, isn't Europe just like one small state in America anyway? So I feel like.
All right.
I feel like there's a difference between America and Sweden, at least.
Yeah,
a little bit.
There is quite a bit of a difference. Kind of like there's quite a bit of a difference between these next two teams. But the one thing that is going to be a common ground will be that this is a winner's match, a best of one that will send one of these teams on to the semifinals on Sunday. And one, well, they're going to have a much, much longer path onward into those playoffs. Well, that's going to be compLexity versus Heroic, and it's been a rather quick day for them thus far. However, now they need to square off to determine who is going to be the winner of Group A, and if you take a look at the bracket, you will see just how they got here.
Yeah, and I feel this has been the I wouldn't say weaker group of the event so far, because you can't really say that, but it is definitely on paper the weakest group so far, but also only the group where we have seen the results we expected. I think G2 upsetting Jens in the other group, that was a big surprise. Obviously, Barado winning against Optic was a big surprise as well. This group, though, it pretty much played out as we expected. You know, Heroic LDLC could go both ways, but now we have a winner's matchup where compLexity is facing Heroic, and I think that's, you know, if any game today has been a 50-50, it'll be the day.
Yeah, you know, I think, Jacob, why don't you just give us a little bit more peace of your mind there? I think you've really kind of set yourself up here for a 3 reasons why, brought to you by Hacks GG. Take it away, Jacob Pimp Vinicky.
I got you 3 reasons why you should watch these 3 players a little bit more carefully, because I think they all have an interesting story to tell. First off, you should watch Mertz, simply because he is, to my understanding and to my knowledge, he's the best player on the server, hands down. He's been absolutely amazing the past 3 months, ever since he changed from North, going back to Heroic, and finding some more confidence, finding some more space, and finding a different role, I would say, within this team. He's been playing hearts out. We saw him being the MVP at the 2 tournaments Heroic have won so far. That is pretty impressive in itself, and it's good to see that a guy on that age, you know, can go to a team like North, not really do too well and get kicked, and then go back to Heroic and be a difference maker for a team like that. It shows a little bit of a mental fortitude, and it shows that, to me, that he has a bright future ahead of him. He's playing superb Counter-Strike right now, the best player on the server. Watch out for him. It's only fair to talk about his counterpart as well, Shazam, in that regard. He's an AVP player who's tried a lot throughout his career. Trace can probably testify to that as well. He's been all over the place, both, you know, mentally-wise, but also attitude-wise, but also playing-wise. He's been from, you know, gone from being a pretty average player to being an absolute star player in some of his teams. I think Shazam is the dude that thrives well when he's confident. I think he thrives well when he's feeling it, but I also think it's the player that is lacking a little bit of that mental fortitude that I feel Mertz have. So interesting to see if he can be a difference maker in a game up against Mertz, who is, again, to my understanding, the best player on the server. He's going to have his hands full. The third player I want you guys to watch out for is Asilion. That may come as a little bit of a surprise to you guys, but I think this is a would not say a star in the making, but this is definitely a guy who's had his impact within the Danish Counter-Strike scene. I got to play with him when I was still an active professional player, and I sort of like got to teach him a few tricks here and there. But he's actually involved into being a pretty decent in-game leader now. He's sort of challenging Snappy for being that 3rd in-game leader in Denmark. We obviously have MSL, we have Karrigan, we have Snappy. We have Glaive for that matter. You know, we have a lot of great in-game leaders in Denmark, something other countries lack of right now. And I think Astillion is a star in the making. I think he could be a great in-game leader in the future. I think what he's done with Heroic so far, leading them to 2 tournament victories in 2018, is definitely something to be proud of. So look out for him, and he's going to potentially lead them to a 3rd win here at DreamHack Open in Jönköping. Trace. There we go.
Jönköping.
You know what the most impressive part of all that was? No. Other than, obviously, it was brought to you by hacks.gg.
That's very impressive.
It was the fact that you did that with one breath. Do you do, like,
incredible
scuba? Yeah, like, do you do, like, diving or anything?
No, but I probably could, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty impressive. I'll give you that. Anyway, also impressive is finding out where this map is going to be, what it's going to be, rather, when we take a look at the vetoes, because it's time to start talking about the second to last best of 1 of the day, and for all that it encompasses, it's going to be a match to be remembered, because one of these teams, like I said, want that extra day here for preparation and perhaps even a day off. In some regards, they're going to have a much lighter day. And when we start to talk about these bans, guys, what can we expect?
I think it's going to be safe bans. Cash and Overpass are the usual perma bans from both the teams. I think it might actually go down to Dust too here. Inferno getting banned by Heroic is very smart moves, and map complexity can be very strong on. Train getting banned. Again, they're banning the worst maps, banning their opponent's best maps. It is going to be Dust getting banned by complexity. It's a little surprising. Now, that's surprising. They had an option between Nuke and Dust 2, and looking to play Heroic on Nuke. I don't know, man. That's a little weird.
Heroic is Danish, and Danes are known for being great new players. I think it comes down to the communication skills we have developed in Denmark. They're really, really great. Nuke is one of those maps where you have to have good communication in order to do the right rotation and in order to react properly on what's happening on the map. Not sure whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for Heroic. I don't think Heroic is a strong Nuke team by any means. I think they're decent just because they're Danish and they have the fundamentals down. But apart from that, they don't have anything to me that sticks out to me and tells me that they're a great Nuke team. Whereas I feel complexity, considering they're from NA and they don't necessarily play Nuke too well, are actually pretty decent on the map. So I think we actually found some common ground here for both teams, and I think both teams will be fairly happy with this veto process. Yeah,
it's not like a really weird flex or anything like that when we take a look at this, at least, because yes, when we first start talking about these teams, it's going to have to be Heroic, one where we see 2 Swedes, 3 Danes, and 1 common problem ahead of them being complexity. When we start to talk about this team, you've highlighted Mertz as the player to watch, but what else is going on around him?
I mean, Astillion, as I also highlighted, he's sort of like the gem of this team, I would say. He's a new in-game leader in Denmark. He sort of adopted into that role a few months ago, half a year ago, where he really wanted to try it out. He was playing with the Esperanto guys and did some fine work there as well. Won Copenhagen Games this year as well, a minor event. But he's actually been winning a few tournaments here and there, wherever he's been as an in-game leader. So he's definitely involving into that. A player you could mention as well, and a guy you need to look out for, and probably the best player on the team together with Mertz, is EasyTech. He's been having a phenomenal year. He was actually getting kicked from the team in the beginning of this year and then sort of like got back into the team because I think it was Snappy who left the team and Nico who left the team for Optics. So there was all of a sudden a free role on the team again, and he came back in and he's been playing hearts out ever since. So some of that mental fortitude and some of that mental strength I tried to describe with Mertz, he's showing that as well. So in that regard, I think it's a super interesting team, and I think they're finally, as also said in previous segments, finally it feels like Heroic is actually getting better and they're not stagnating in their involvement.
Absolutely. I mean, just to add one small little thing there, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup, primarily because it is going to be a revenge game for Heroic as well. They did lose to complexity at Summit, just like I think under a month ago, where they lost 2-1. So it's going to be a revenge match. It is a Nuke, which is a map which they lost on as well. Sorry, which they actually won on against complexity. That's one map they won. So it's going to be pretty interesting from that perspective. And also, just to add on to what you just said right now, Pimp, I think Heroic, yeah, like you said, they're just getting stronger and stronger, better and better. And I think that's a great sign for this team, because that's one thing they've struggled with, is maintaining some semblance of constancy, of being stable, so to speak, as a unit. And now winning games where they have no business losing, that's great. Like, there are certain games we need to win without breaking the sweat, and they're doing that right now. And like Freiburg said earlier in his interview, the next step would be getting to that tier 1 level, right? Would start challenging the better teams out there. So yeah, all things considered, looking pretty good for Heroic right now.
Well, Hurricane Heroic is gaining speed out there in the waters, but they're going to have a tough time against the storm wall that is complexity. However, the Nuke pick is definitely something we can start to talk about here as being a WTF, mate. How did this happen? Why did this happen?
it kind of makes sense as well, right? Like, I expected Dust 2 to come out there. The fact that they went for the nuke pick, a map where Heroic have traditionally been pretty strong on, while, yeah, agreed, they're not an Astralis, for example, but they can still are a very solid team there. So compLexity could have a game plan. This is a team who, bear in mind, you know, when they had the Face It Major run, we saw that documentary as well. They're putting a lot of work, you know, studying every single team and matchup, and now they're trying to like regain that, well, so to speak, lost glory, right? They've struggled in stall ladder, struggled throughout, even against earlier to take its existence, when they're winning very convincingly, they kind of seem to drop the ball. That's something they can't afford, and I'm sure they would have done the homework here. And head-to-head, boom.
Boom, head-to-head, Android and Freiburg. My goodness, Freiburg said he felt at home here, and rightfully so. He is, I guess, what we could call the resident Swede in the house, this big house of ours in Jönköping.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting head-to-head. I picked these two players because I feel like we know that the known quantities in Isotech, we know the known quantity in Shazam, we know the known quantity in Merge, but these two players are sort of like the catalyst behind the teams when they're playing well. If Freiburg is having a good game, then all of a sudden Heroic comes from being a tier 2 team to potentially a tier 1 team, because he's sort of like the 4th or the 5th star of this team right now, and same goes for Android. So these are sort of like the sleeping star players of the team that potentially can step up and elevate their teams just a little bit more if they find another level. And again, you know, we did see the stats right there. They didn't have the best first game, but obviously Freiburg won a big one right there, so he doesn't care. Whereas Android, he could have done more for compLexity as well.
Well, you can go from being a tier 3 Twitch user to a tier 1 by getting involved in the Twitch chat using !COL or !hero. If you want to be a hero, that is.
God damn it.
Too much?
Too much.
Way too much.
Anyway, the odds are there in favor of Heroic, but not super landslidey, as one might say. Let's go ahead and get some of these predictions, and perhaps this will be a landslide affair.
Blair, what are you saying?
I'm going to go with Heroic here. Primarily because it's Nuke. I've seen them play Nuke. Like you said, they're not the best team on Nuke, but they are very solid. The fundamentals are there. compLexity is kind of hit or miss, right? Sometimes they have those performances, but I really haven't seen when they have convincingly won a game on Nuke in anywhere in the recent past. And even looking against their earlier game today, when they kind of dropped the ball against the likes of an Existence Galaxy, if they do that against the Heroic on a map like Nuke, you just like roll away from them. I think that could be a big problem. I'm going to go with Heroic here.
Yeah, I think both teams look super strong in their first games, honestly. I think I'm going to go for a win-win situation here. I'm going to say compLexity, because if they win, I'm right, and if they lose, a Dane wins. So, I mean, it's pretty much a win-win situation. I think compLexity, honestly speaking, is a team that can go on and win against Heroic. I think what they have to offer right now is quite significantly when you have Shazam going off, when you have Android, you know, having a decent game, and maybe Ye turning up to be the player he was at the Major, then I would say that their peak is maybe even higher than Heroic right now. I just want to see them come in here hot and blazing. Shazam said it in the interview as well. This is their last chance for the year to actually make an impact on this scene and make an impact on the circuit. So if they can't do it here against Heroic, I'm not too sure if they can even go to the semifinal after this one.
Well, my mind is telling me Heroic, but I'm going to have to side with that of compLexity. compLexity for life. Jason Lake said it best himself, and that's just the way it's got to be. Check us out, Pound compLexity, irc.gamesurge.net. Actually, no one does that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right?
Yeah.
Growing old.
One time we were there. Once we were young. And in fact, the new chat, the new place where people hang out, is where I asked you to become a tier 1 user by getting your vote in. So let's go ahead and take a look at the vote. And it looks like you guys are using your brains today. Good job. Thank you very much for participating in our little vote here. I'm going to be doing it one more time today for our next game. But for now, it would appear as though they're siding with Heroic. You guys got anything to say about that? Or
I think it's pretty logical. I agree with Pimp that compLexity can potentially, you know, peak and get the win here. But logically speaking, just looking at what we know, Heroic do have the slight edge.
Well, here's the edge that I'm going to give, and I'm going to give it right over to our commentator, Scrawny and Launders, ready to take us into this first winners match. Boys, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, gentlemen on the desk. Launders, we're moving on to Nuke. compLexity, one of these teams in North America that do find themselves there every once in a while, and like Bled did say, the Blexpert, it was just a month ago at the 3rd CS Summit that we saw these two teams clash off. That was, of course, where Freiburg and Mertz decided to take control of the server, each of them dropping, you know, mid-20 kills and really shutting things down. It was a rampant T-side from the Swedish-Danish mix that was too much to handle for compLexity. They also tried it at DreamHack Austin. They played versus Vitality on Nuke. compLexity trying their hand once more. Zywoo drops a 30 bomb, and that was the end of the story.
I remember those after that game, there was a lot of tweets, people saying that this was like the hardest carry they've ever seen, and you know, it was like nothing they can do, and it was really just became an individualistic match. in that moment, and it's hard to say that the nuke was bad, more so that Zai was just so good he overshadowed any of the cool tactics or strategies that they might have had in mind. But I think for this match, I would definitely side with Heroic just because of the veto, but then also because, as you mentioned, Freiburg was an important part of their nuke in the past. Well, earlier today he was playing really well. I loved his movement around the trains when they played train in the last match, and I think that he's looking really smart. I feel like he's confident right now. He looks very smart, and Mertz, who's the highest rated player on the team, also is having a pretty good tournament. So I think the pieces might be in place for Heroic to take this one, but you can't write compLexity out again. Riding high off of a good major placing. Interesting setup here as the shadows get shown to Esatag. 2 players jump over top of him, but Mertz is here to clean up the slack, make sure that no one can cross the heaven. However, now he's got a player in hell to take him out. That's Shazam, who gets traded.
Damn, Maudie. Working on minimal health, and still he picks up the kill. Keeps this one even keel at 3 players apiece. And Android and Ye, they're just going to have to come flying forward. They managed to catch the headshot. So Maudie now down. Freiburg just creeps back through Hut and Asilian on the other side of the door. Oh my. They have both won a separate duel, and this puts Android alone.
Many options for him to play here, but he doesn't know if they're going to just double push out of the Hut. He wants to try to get a 1v1 if possible, and it's going to be a double push, this time out of Squeaky before the bomb even gets planted, which might have been some money for him, but it was impossible for him to know that he wasn't going to get rushed trying to plant in the first place. So it's okay that he took a small risk and went to look for the 1v1 first. That's naturally what you would normally do without enough information. Now, the upstairs play seemed solid at first, but Maudie getting a kill with such low HP was a gift for Heroic, and then Asilian playing the door really well versus the 2 players who were coming into Mini was huge as well.
And I feel like Android, he had the chance there. If that first bullet out of the Glock catches the initial kill, then the second one's right there. It's a slight readjustment, and he has himself a chance. But that too was shut down by Heroic, so good control in the pistol. Looked like it was going to get away from them. Now this time, compLexity, they're just going to cool their jets entirely.
Yeah, I think it's just pistols and a good conversation. The great first Tinder date. They might just be going over their strategy for next round, delaying to see if there's any free kills that they can get, are clearly going to take this game as seriously as possible, and they have the clock in their favor, so they might as well try to abuse it.
Now, the last time we saw these teams face off, it was Heroic to start on the T side. They picked up an 11-4 half. Then we switched over, and we actually, even despite that disadvantage, got 12 rounds out of compLexity's own T side. They win 7, and when they lost that 5th, obviously GG, it was cut a little short. So this T side should be formidable. Obviously not going to help when you don't pick up pistols. You got to buy your time and get back on track. But they'll look to blast past Easy Tag. 3 Ts potentially here for their peaks, but everybody just gets obliterated. Utter shutdown, and the bomb tries to slip its way to the site, but Freiburg's there to catch him.
I wonder what the end of the strategy looked like with the players jumping over top of Mini. It seemed like they weren't going to try to crush upstairs right away. I'm not sure if they were going to rush in with 4 players and then have Ye come out. Could have been pivotal and being able to get a bomb plan if one other kill came down inside of upper, but instead, Heroic lose no one. And they've got, looks like 4 Molotovs versus full utility belts from compLexity. We've definitely got a very competitive round on our hands from both sides. 2 of those Molotovs get thrown immediately, I think, to deny any push or smoke that might be coming their way. compLexity, though, have outside control for the most part. Esatag has only got a Famas out here, and he's kind of alone at the moment.
Yeah, once he gets his support from Mertz, well, he's only got that scout. So if he opts to go peering over the top of the staircase, tries to pepper down some of these Ts, could find himself at a disadvantage. But the closer compLexity get to Heroic, the better these weapons may work out for them.
Oh.
Easy Tag finding one over, no, excuse me, Mertz from beneath Launders.
Interesting. And he has shown presence, but they both are able to fall back. And there it is. Esatag comes through on the flank. So now Shazam outside spots the shoulder of Mertz, or sorry, Esatag. But what can he do about this? Esatag knows where he is as well.
Android's kill towards ramp combines perfectly with Shazam. They start to soften up the numbers, but as he commits to the duel, Mertz will best him. And Asilian confirms there's nobody else outdoors. But the bottom of this map belongs to compLexity. We've got Ye towards control doors. We have Android now off of the plant.
you know, I much prefer this way of taking lower, where you actually commit to presence outside as opposed to just throw the smokes that everyone throws. And this 2v2 is definitely T favored.
Quick snap, and it's the double back from Ye. Jacob Whitaker clears up the round, bomb halfway gone, and they just walk right into the trap. That was a good prediction from compLexity. Not worried about ramp, not even honing in over towards decontamination.
Yeah, in position to basically wait for a defuse if it is going to be some wonky rotation from the CTs, but if not, focus on anybody rotating from outside where they know there was a lot of presence to start the round off. Would have been a travesty for compLexity to lose that round, as it was kind of a bonus for Heroic. That's why we saw the scout, that's why we saw the Falmus outside on Esatag, and Heroic almost got away with murder, being able to shut it down on some good trades, but instead, compLexity just barely eke it out, and they do it with a bomb plan as well, which is nice for them. And now they've got a brand new threat. Heroic are not as well equipped as they'd like to be, but still, I think, understand what compLexity want to try to do, and that's take outside.
Yeah, they've gone up in weapons and down in grenades. We talked about all the Molotovs they had in the previous round to slow things down. Now it's just a wall of smoke, or a threat in the corner from Esatag. He gets himself just one. The potential for trades is here, but the smoke is in the face of Heroic. They can see nothing further. They just hear the shots whiffing by them. And I like this forward smoke. It's not that standard wall, you know? It kind of pressures these CTs back a little bit more than the alternative.
Honestly, I don't understand why they aren't always thrown like that. It looks really safe. There's not many options for the CTs to work with, and as much as you would like to throw the safest smokes possible, I don't even see a problem with those ones. You're always going to be able to be spotted from heaven, potentially, so that's an issue.
And the boost over box that we saw Esatag use, very, very good versus that wall. Makes it all the easier.
So Shazam and lower, and down lower, and they're about to take ramp. This would be a good succession of events for compLexity, but it looks like they're doubling back here. Do they feel like it's going to be light upstairs?
This is going to get down to the wire. 15 seconds left. They just need to burst onto this bomb site. It falls on friberg, and he is just a threat lurking up and above. Won't buy his time. Instead, cuts one down immediately. And now he can peek door if he needs to. This is a fumble from compLexity. Bomb not even planted. They walked right into the meat grinder.
I think they had two options. They could have gone lower with the ramp split, and it would have been perfect. But I think because they made so much presence and had Shazam down there, they figured Heroic might panic gamble down to lower, so they said, all right, screw it, let's go upstairs. But upstairs could have been fine too. It was kind of friberg by himself and a player in Turnpike originally, and then the rotation came in because they kind of just like puttered into A. Right? They didn't explode out into A. They didn't use a split through Hut, and their first player didn't kill friberg right away. Now the engagement for the CT who is initiating upstairs, it's almost always hugely in his favor, but because there was no one close by to trade, not only could he get the kill, but he could fall off into safety and make that round impossible to win. And now compLexity are back on pistols. They have decided to spend most of their money, in most cases all of their money, and get what they can facing what is a reset. So it's kind of understandable. I don't know if we have the squeaky pop coming out in friberg, because he threw the counter smoke. He's actually going to be happy to cross in and make sure they can't draw.
Oh, and none of them find the hole. That's a common problem.
That's step one.
Yep. Break the vent, get the opening, and then follow suit, but no sir. Access denied. Heroic have other ideas. Because of that, they find themselves a fourth round. Like you said, facing that reset, now it's a reality. And we're going to have to watch compLexity take a couple on the chin.
That was very smart from friberg to try to get into the vent, and this is something players try to do. It's just kind of scary if you don't know exactly when that squeaky door is going to come swing open, if you try to go in first. But if you do have that window of opportunity, it's really strong, and sometimes it's scary to not know what goes down the vent, because then your teammates have to try to guess as to how they should try to appropriately respond to this lack of information that they have, and instead he can tell them with certainty they're good. Talking about good. All that red on the screen was just from the one grenade of Maudie. He might have another few keys coming his way.
Almost finds himself the anti-eco ace. Astilion's backstab is what seals the deal, but nice frag, Launders. That one gives you heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, and you know that makes it so there's only 1 or 2 bullets to kill these players who don't have armor. Easy shots, and he's also got a couple of headshots in there as well. Good stuff. Good clean anti-eco. 5-1 for Heroic. compLexity here on the AKs don't have that much to work with. And I almost mean strategically. We saw some good smokes outside, but it really seems like they're lacking some confidence at the moment. Would like to see some more decisive calls and quick reactions. We don't want to see this to come down to the last 7 seconds every round, especially when they are making the worst decision in certain circumstances. So let's see it. Work on the map control, get down to a site, get that bomb down.
It's a repeat from Maudy's nade. EasyTag cleans up 2 outdoors. Def and Shazam just blown to smithereens. And all the while, Mertz just confidently down towards the staircase. So again, we find compLexity denied in the opening of the round. Can't quite piece it together just yet, so Ye's going to go on the creep out from door. Ascillian's coming to check it. They could find the angle, but that's 2 heads turned. And Ascillian makes this round look easy. This was not an anti-eco. This was the full buy compLexity were waiting to get to. And they have found so little success.
Definitely, yeah, well-placed grenade, just as you said. You shut down that outside presence. You can't even explain what they were going to try to do. That's where it began. They just needed to try to get downstairs. Last time we saw them take outside and then get into lower, that was the moment that Shazam decided to take ramp at the same time. Well, here, does that mean with the 2 players outside they would have tried to commit lower? We don't know. And it makes it so that now it's a 3v5, and they've got to try to do something completely different. And they've also got to try to make up for the man disadvantage. Now they're back on pistols one more time, and it looks like they're feigning a squeaky explode to try to bait out some utility, knowing that Heroic have seen him do it before. But this time, no grenades are thrown, really. They've just decided to go for the spam, and that's going to be disappointing for compLexity.
We don't have Freiburg in the vents initially, so Def does just kind of creep his way down. And he is equipped with that CZ. Of all the pistols they have in play, that's the one you want in the vents. Maudy on damage control, just keeps his eyes on doors, none of which swung open. I wonder how Def kind of activates. You know, Mertz, he's not down here in the close proximity. He's actually towards ramp, anticipating the run out from compLexity, and as he spots a couple of bodies, he puts down the flames.
Ooh, they want to hunt this hopper down, but Mertz is too quick on the turnaround and gets a double in the air.
Plucks him from the sky, pushes it just to Def. He was that first piece of the puzzle, establishing himself inside vents, calling for compLexity to come downwards, and then he's sent down, packing straight into the vents, the depths of which he dies. 7-1 for Heroic.
Now, excellent so far, for sure. And here's that replay as he falls back, and it's like, you know, just a few pistols, but this coalition of T's in the air. It's not something you see every day, especially not getting taken out at once. That is a rare sight. And I think we have a match pause called. I don't know if it's from compLexity. I feel like Stanislaw calls telepathically anyway, so we can't tell if he's actually talking at the moment. But
I don't know if
like
his lips ever move.
That's true. So it's actually a technical pause.
All right, cool.
So we're not going to have any.
I mean, take this into consideration. It's a 7-1 start. It's looking very lopsided from Heroic. But what can compLexity really piece together when A, you're losing pistols, B, you're reset instantly the moment you win any round, and then when you finally have to, you know, get through the anti-ecos and save up into your gun round, we see that EasyTag grenade 5v3 in the first 10 seconds of that full buy. I mean, compLexity have just been strapped for cash and outclassed so far, but we are halfway through. Okay, 9th round is upon us. Buy back in, Shazam equipped with the op. And that's actually something that between the 2 games of compLexity versus Vitality and compLexity versus Heroic on Nuke, Shazam seems to struggle. Individually, I don't think he's comfortable here on this map, and that's not the case for Mertz. You know, Pimp brought it up, the head-to-head between the oppers, currently going the way of the Dane.
Good opening kill from Mertz. Once again, playing from the secret stairs. Common spot for the CTs to try to hold outside control from. Eases up on his teammates who can't watch that many angles. But here is Stanislaw just above his opponent. I don't know if it's going to be called that he's got into heaven this quickly. Maudy doesn't seem to be aware of this threat whatsoever, just lurking right below the ladder. Stanislaw could have killed him if he wasn't prepared, but I didn't see that trade happening. Maudy backing it up outside just to check on this spot that he wasn't in tune with, and now it's actually Def who doubled up with him to get the first kill, and Ascillian goes down, but they don't know about Freiburg.
No, nor do they know about the player behind the vent. That's EasyTag just gut punched by Shazam. Hello, wrap around, and Freiburg now emerges from the depths of the bomb site. He's gotten himself the second headshot. How? Def falls downwards, needs to go for the plant, and that's where Maudie picks up these pieces. 8-1 for Heroic.
God.
What a bolstered bomb site, Launders.
It was like rock, paper, scissors there. Everybody kind of getting outplayed or counterplayed by accident with the way the setups were held. At first, it looked like Maudie was in a bad spot, didn't know about Heaven, you know, and then Asilian goes down on Heaven because Def is also there with Stanislaw, who dies. And then we've got Freiburg, who comes out with a fantastic 2K. Shazam getting a ridiculous kill upstairs. And at the end of the day, things go more wrong for compLexity than they do for Heroic, and that's why Heroic win. But that was a close call. There was something there. I definitely like how fast Stanislaw got into Heaven. That is a nice change of pace from what we've been seeing from compLexity, who seem to be puttering to a halt all too often. But just as you said on the previous round, they haven't had that many opportunities to rifle up, and that's partially because of the pistol. That's partially because they're losing rounds in succession.
Yeah.
But even on the rounds they do have the rifles, there's still some pretty apparent problems.
Yeah, some of the most lopsided of rounds, the biggest shutdowns, have been in the full guns. So, you know, when Heroic are showing some cracks in the armor, like that previous round where things get sloppy and wild, compLexity's still unable to make the most of it. And it's been because of this man, Freiburg, now sitting in double digits. He emerged from the shadows of that A site last round, clearly catching Android off guard, and he had the ability to snap back up and stop Heaven. So can compLexity do something with pistols? They've got the utility around this. They're going to use those upper vents to just lob grenades onto the bomb site. Molotov above hut. Freiburg's position's not going to be questioned, and neither is that of Asilian. So they're just going to hold strong, let the keys trickle in, and then pick up all these pieces. Shazam, sure enough, with 1 kill as he comes out of the smoke, but Heroic are fine because they've got themselves 9.
Yeah, and the upstairs hit is, it's good, it's worthwhile. It's nice that they threw it in there. They haven't done kind of a full execute or half execute as we saw because it is an eco round. And the flashes upstairs were good. The Molotov made sense to try to deny a spot on top of hut, and on an eco round you pick and choose your spots. You don't just cover everything. But when they got out upstairs, Freiburg wasn't called out by the first player because it was probably unknown to him, half blind where he was, and then he hid because it's such a powerful position in the rafters that it allowed him to buy more time and get 2 more. So there's really no chance there for compLexity, but at least they tried something. Now Heroic go up against them one more time with pistols. One of the last times that we'll see them use rifles in this half. 9-1 for Heroic, and they are looking as strong as ever. Mertz is back to his comfort zone in the secret stairs.
And he really plays this position 2 separate ways, either passively back on that first round of the corner, welcoming compLexity in, and we haven't really seen them go down those secret stairs. Every time they have this outer control with the close proximity on Mini, well, it's either flanking up into Heaven or just trying to split this A site.
Well, it was Shazam to do it once, and then they ended up going upstairs instead. But then the other round, there was 2 players who got destroyed by Esatag because he threw a great nade, and we don't know if they were actually going to go downstairs. So maybe we'll see that this time. Stanislaw has been effective on these lurks. Not always a kill, but here is a kill and control. He's also been a good escort for his teammates who don't know, who they don't know about as well. 5-4. And they've got a good crunch going on. However, Mertz manages to pick 1.
Right, and now Maudie's going to confirm this if he caught the angle. I mean, the doors are swung wide. He's going to hear them arrive, and he just tucks himself in the corner. Close play, and it's Yay to get the best of him. Costs him a lot of health as he falls to 35, but now the CTs start to swarm the bomb site. If the plant goes down, they don't want to give them any chance at an after plant position. And good job by Def there to deny Freiburg his attempt at spraying bomb. Now the double peek, and Android times it well. Mertz executed. Easy tag alone, also toppled. That right there, folks, is compLexity's 2nd round. They finally get their footing on the B site with a man advantage, and it's an easy after plant there too.
Yeah, and they flirted with lower many times. They just haven't ever committed like they did here and been successful in their opening kills, which is a big one. Got to give credit to Stanislaw for finding a way to make it a 5v4 so easily, even though he was going back into familiar territory where they've seen him try to lurk before. So good play by him, and then also Def to follow up behind. So overall, a good team play and just smart moves. So individually, Heroic I don't think will be too arse. They've only seen 1 round, 1 from compLexity on an island. They can kind of do what they've been doing, just be more aware of a Heaven lurk, and it's really up to compLexity to try to innovate here.
Ooh, now they're trying to use their own Molotovs here to screw up the smokes of compLexity. Be cautious of the frags that tend to follow suit. Or even the spam damage finds the angle. Come on. Give them a chance. They do still manage to get the entirety of their team downstairs. Now they have to pass Freiberg. And, well, he starts to nip at their heels. He catches two, nearly three. Android, sure, he's given some space to Stan, who ventures forward because it's the bomb carrier behind. But there's already players all over this bomb site. Android caught in a tough spot. Madi, look at this. That's a Goomba corner if I've ever seen one, man.
Yeah, just stayed crouched out of vision. Great round from Freiberg. He did almost 290 damage there, getting the first two players. And it was compLexity who wanted to go back to what worked, which I really appreciate. It's actually there's actually some similarities between the way that compLexity play, just maps in general, and how like Astralis play them as well. It's like if they get something to work, they'll try it again. They'll just try it in a brand new way. So they like to do what works, but then they'll spend some time conditioning their opponent to think it's the other site, or they'll just hit the site again at a different pace. And I understand, why compLexity wants to do that. But on that round, you get spammed by this, spam through the smoke outside, and then Freiberg catches you also in rotation, takes out two players who are looking just to get control room, just so that they can set up. They don't even get up to the setup phase where their comfort zone is.
Do you have any thoughts or problems with the way that compLexity charged through that smoke from Freiberg? Because clearly it helps him out. He gets one kill before he's even seen, and then all the feet crossing over just lets him rack up that damage.
Yeah, no, for sure. They could have taken their time. They had lots of time on the clock to get got downstairs at a good pace. I think that last time they just got worried because they got lower control, but then they actually canceled the rotation because they felt like it was understood from Heroic and there was going to be an over-rotation downstairs. So here they wanted to try to beat that out.
There's Shazam counterplayed yet again. Falls at the hands of Mertz, who's been just this constant nuisance on his AWP. Finds himself another 15-3, Mohan.
We go from 144 hertz to 240 hertz when he's fully powered up.
240 hertz Mertz. And Madi, the corner camper. Poor Ye just put down. Rest in pieces. Bradley Fodor up next at bat. Swings wide and spotted by Madi, who again just repositions into these weird spots. That's now 3 of his last 3 kills in these, kind of corner lurks that nobody seems to expect.
Very strange angles. Typically someone would be directly behind the box, not at the wall by the box, and then kind of out in the open beside Turnpike, not in Turnpike, not in the corner. And so the off angles are proven to be very favorable for Madi, and those are smart, and that's what he's good for. These kind of lurk or unorthodox positions. And it's good that he can do that on CT side, continually make it favorable advantages for these one-on-one engagements. Now, there might be attention back on Madi, back into ramp.
Oh, another chance at a great grenade. He manages to stack up the corpses regardless. That's 3 headshots for him. And while Stan gets his hands on an AK, what do they do from here? It's that quick burst into ramp that gets them something to work with, but Heroic prepared to pick up pieces if need be. Speaking of B, it's open for the plant, you'd think. It's only this player in control, and he doesn't seem to go down. Freiberg flirting with Stanislaus. He drops his teammate over the shoulder and leaves Stan stranded here on ramp, but he's caught a second kill and he escapes.
Oh my god. That was pretty clean as well. I think there's somebody waiting for him as he exits. Obviously the AUG from Asilian to leave Stanislaus in awe, thinking that he was going to be able to get to heaven for free, potentially find a fight over there, not something so close up. But the rotations have been good for Heroic, and that is the scary part about going up against a team who are winning so heavily. It's just that they're going to take more risks. They're going to throw caution to the wind sometimes, and that means that they're going to be less afraid to push and be that third player that's not that late into the same spot where their 2 teammates died before them. 2 Molotovs go down, 1 in Hut, 1 in Squeaky to deny any fast presence upstairs. Tag from below is able to take out Stanislaus with a clean headshot, holding on to a lot of health. Flash goes over his head to assist in a peek, and oh my god, just gets 4-3'd. Shazam comes out and finds just a couple of body shots with a deagle. Close enough, it only needs 2.
Ye opts to play the ump as opposed to the scout, which has been left on the ground. Asilian with his scope up, waiting for the targets, and he does catch the side of Ye's brain. Shazam trades straight away. And the play comes to a grinding halt. Minute on the clock, 2v2. Android had seen nothing while he ventured inside of lobby. We haven't really seen Heroic get hyper-aggressive. Never did they stampede through ramp room. Never did they charge through squeaky door. So no surprise to me there. But speaking of doors, it's been blown wide open.
Now they do have a giant blind spot in ramp. So now Freiburg has that covered, as well as upstairs and vent, the only ways that they can get downstairs. And he's also going to get even more frisky. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to flank here, or I guess even just hold peek out after the bomb goes down. But they're aware if he's not here, he's probably close by.
Looks like they're going to opt to plant behind the silos. That'll protect them from Madi's peek. They already have a player just inside the hut, and Shazam catches his head. Madi makes noise on the ladder, though, and then opts to go for the wraparound. So he's going to have to exit a choke point, but at least it's 1v1 duels. Shazam is just working his way closer to the corner, and that right there is it, folks. The third round for compLexity. No consecutive wins on their T side. It is minimal, but it's something to work with. The pressure falls on the pistol.
It's like a Swedish house.
Why is that?
Minimalistic.
Ah, yes. Where their beds are split down the middle. I'm never going to understand that.
1.5 foot wide blankets.
Just give me one big blanket, Launders.
But, you know, not a recipe for success. It's compLexity, have a very lackluster half in general. In that 2v2, again, the one blind spot was ramp, and that's maybe why compLexity thought, or sorry, that's why Heroic thought that it might have been a lower play somehow. There was a moment where Freiburg didn't spot hut where they could have potentially passed by them, and that won them around, which is nice. And that's something that goes their way in the 2v2. Yeah, it's a forced buy, but you almost always see that. When a team is winning so drastically, sometimes the last round of the half will just be randomly won, even with worse guns, just because you're almost turning your brain off at that point.
Yeah,
you're like, everything's going well for us, like, we have this in the bag.
Kind of left your foot off the pedal, but it's wild to think that, you know, just to explain how lopsided that first half was, the 3 rounds that compLexity pick up are the only 3 rounds where they find bomb plants. Outside of that, we never had a retake for Heroic. It was just shutdown followed by shutdown time and time again. Clean sweeps in the anti-ecos, convincing gun rounds, and a fast burst into the A site here on the pistol. Heroic, they are not going to slow down the tempo. We talked about letting their foot off the gas when it came to that 15th round. Well, this is round 16, and it's pedal to the metal.
Oh, super rough that they lost their one player upstairs. A retake 4v5 on upstairs is not a position you want to be in, even if it's the pistol.
EasyTag has a good angle as well, just over the lip of the silo. So many bodies coming in from heaven now. Sam picks up a quick kill, but that is it. Heroic with a 13th already.
Absolutely beastly pistol upstairs. Just the initial kill to lock it up, and then, again, so much damage towards heaven. They had him blind. They could have peeked him, but it's such an awkward engagement. Like, it's hard to say who even really has the favor at times, depending on who's coming out of heaven. Like, if they're just there and you can only see their head, then maybe you give it to the T, but if the CT is directly over the T, then their hitbox is crushed, and the CT will probably get a lot of damage in. But at the same time, you know, you're aiming in a weird way where your hand is at the bottom of your mouse pad, and you're like, I don't want to be here right now. And but you still have to play the game because you're on salary and you're expected to win the whole tournament. Life comes at you fast.
Real quick. Let's see if Shazam is fast on the fingers. Deagle not going to connect to its target. And as he ventures over the top of the stairs, he's putting himself at risk. But he's giving out a little bit of damage. Spoon feeds EasyTag for 34. But then all the T's fall off. Heroic, they want nothing to do with that outside control at this point. They've got a grenade execute in store. Smokes go up and over, and then they'll return back indoors. So this could be a ruse. It's going to call the attention of Shazam, who does stick around, so at least he knows that there may not be that many bodies flowing forward. It is just Freiburg who eventually catches his head. And the rest of these T's now ready to pop, but Stanislaw just falls into the vents. Android close on the Deagle. He's going to be good for one, and Death Scout connects to another skull. Android upgrading into the Galil could get himself a couple kills. He most certainly will. That is a 3-piece from Android, and that's a shutdown on the A site.
Not bad at all. Very, very well done. Clean first Deagle, and then was clinical with the Galil of all weapons to get the next 2. So this is kind of where it begins and ends. And here it is with the chatterbox coming out and talking to him.
You know, if there's anything I think Android will do well on Nuke is kind of lock down A site. You know, I used to call him Android XM1014 because he just buys that auto shotty, sits on top of hut, and welcomes you into the bomb site. He's one of those guys.
He's one of those Hikos.
Exactly. It's a viable play. Ooh, all right.
What was that?
I'd love to see what that wallbang threw.
That was a thick wall. A thick wall, indeed.
3 Cs. Def picks up one with the MP9, though, so it's a tantalizing opener from Heroic, but very quickly quelled, at least for Freiburg and Astillion. Mertz has gotten downstairs, if that's any consolation prize, but Ye lies in wait.
And looks like they have landed back on their feet. Esatag, the man with the impressive kill in the beginning of the round, now has to get 4 more. Why not? Let's do it. Let's see what happens. You've got nothing to lose. You don't want this next round. So, takes a shot.
Is there any other pro player that commits to the backwards hat other than Esatag? Because I think he's the only one.
Going through just my inventory of players that I can think of at the moment, but you might be right about it.
It's the only one.
You think is the only one? The only one.
Never seen another backwards hat.
There are a lot.
You know, there was the Taco Toque.
There's a lot of frontwards hats players.
Yep.
But not so many backwards hats players.
He's bringing it back. It's the key to being a stand-in. Oh, shots over the top from Shazam. This is just the anti-eco, so easy pickup between him and Stan. It's the full house between the two.
He said he was jet lagged. He's looking fine to me.
Chaz? He said he was jet lagged?
On Twitter.
You think he'd be good at this by now?
Getting the jet lag?
Yeah, the time zone plays.
I feel like some people have it harder than others.
That's
you know?
fair.
I don't know.
Some people can't sleep on planes.
Some people, yeah, you know, that's me sometimes. So I can sympathize. I don't know.
Well, you can sleep on planes, but don't sleep on complexity. They're down 7 rounds, sure enough, but they've got that solid cash flow. They've got Shazam up into the ops. The utility's here. If there's going to be a comeback, it's going to be with this round moving forward. Because if not, Heroic, they're sitting on victory's doorstep.
I really like Stanislaus' spot outside, just on the side of red. I think he's pushed up this far just so he doesn't get naded behind him, and so that if somebody's peeking from the silo, they won't spot him. Madi gets his first kill in Squeaky. Very annoying position for him to do that from. Def cannot capitalize. Sorry, I like burped while I was talking. But at least you didn't hear the burp, right? It was just a weird word instead.
Yeah. Okay.
My tongue almost fell out of my mouth, basically.
You spit all over the floor.
But I didn't spit anywhere. There was no spit.
Stanislaw, are you ready? You've got a lot of T's on the other side of this box. Only manages to pick up 1. Can't set up his shop. You can see him trying to hone in on the top of Silo, but too many players up close. They kick in his teeth, they kick in the front door, and now they have themselves outdoors. It's all theirs for the taking. And in response, compLexity move in. They clear out the lobby. They ensure that, yes, Heroic, they have outside. This is the beauty of Nuke. Eventually, you have to come inside the facility. And Android knows this. He's going to establish himself towards Mini. Very wary of an outer play, but also needs to be cautious as to that heaven push that is an inevitability. 20 seconds left. And down he goes. Esatag just cracks it open, and the rest of the CT's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that was the key play, obviously, to get that one security guard of the facility, take him out so they can get to Sokolov.
Bomb plants theirs. You can put a fork in it. compLexity just going to cower towards ramp, holding on to what they can.
This is tough. Who got the most important kill of the round?
I feel like it was whoever traded Stan off of the red box. Because Stanislaw was primed for a multi-kill. Like, that red box is one of those positions where if you can peek from multiple sides of it, you can pick up 2 kills, maybe a third. You know, you're slowing down that outer play. It makes the push forward from compLexity indoors all the easier the longer he stays up. So whoever clears him from outside, that's how Heroic get themselves into the A site, and that's why it all does topple.
As a player playing red box outside, you are on your own, but for the most part, that box is hard to penetrate, so you do have a lot of options to make 1v1s happen. And so, yeah, there it is. The kill from Esatag allows them to get in, and he actually follows up with another kill on Mini. So, you know, without him in the round, it would have been a whole lot different. Would have been that 4v3 that we saw at the end. And now, Heroic knocking on the doorstep of victory.
Oh man, fast push straight down vent. They're going to throw a wild card here in the 21st round. Maudie, he hears the door swing open and Shazam just blindsided.
How is he supposed to know that somebody could move that quickly?
Maudie's got fast feet. And while Ye does trade, it's the Congo line down secret stairs. Def to come in from the back of the caboose. He's going to hear all of these players moving forward, and Ye's not ready. He's not prepared. There's nobody there to help him. They have this vent control, sure enough. Def trying to do something, but it's in up close on his face that he dies. Dan takes his place, and it's easy tag with another couple rippers.
Man, it's just so unexpected. That's hard to anticipate. That number one, the first player is going to be past control room door before you, as a lower rotation, come there as fast as you can. And Maudie is just like right there to shoot you in the back of the head. That engagement maybe has never happened before in professional Counter-Strike, you know? And then for the next 4 players to come barreling through 15 seconds later as if they were chasing a rabbit and then take out Ye, who just wanted to throw a Molotov so he could sit and wait for a second.
Right. And you saw Ye, he was trying to get back into that position at the bottom of the staircase where you're just sitting there crouching. You know, we talked about Maudie having these off positions inside control room or ramp, and I think that's one from Ye, where he doesn't expect players to see him there. You know, they come over the lip, quick couple headshots, and he's got himself a stoppage on top of the flames. But if he had just stayed back towards the deeper control stairs around that recently added corner, the Molotov goes down safely, and he could try to hold it off. But like you said, it's the pace, it's the speed of which they hit him that he never saw coming. And the same for Shazam. They knew there was a possibility of a player through vent, but he swings the doors open and he's looking towards the vent exit. Maudie's already slipped in the tongue, and that's an easy opening kill. But Shaz isn't going down without a fight. He finds easy tag at the beginning of this one. Stanislaw feels the heat from both directions, and Mertz's op is hungry for a trade frag outside.
Oh, Asilian fully focused, but Shazam is just too good. Amazing shots from him so far in this round. I should say, just this one scout play could make a huge difference. He's down to less than half HP, but I don't think he'll be too concerned about that. It's going to come down to Ye now, who gets immediately taken out. But again, Shazam, 3rd scout kill, 3rd headshot, all 3 kills so far for his team. But finally, Def chimes in to make sure that this one is sealed up.
Got any magic in your sack, Freiberg? Because this one would be big. He's got the bomb. That always is step 1 to me. You know, you've got the bomb. You never have to actually double back for it. They have no clue where he is.
Yeah, they haven't made any rotations to adjust. He can get the bomb down. It's a 1v4. If it was a 1v3, I'd be like, maybe he could do this. 1v4, compLexity would really have to show their Z game to lose a round like this. That smoke, that's quite interesting. He's getting into a favorable spot. There's no one here at ramp to come and take first contact, so he might get at least 1 kill. Does get dinged.
The spray. A little wild, bewildering play. Then it's Android that gives cover to the player flying through the sky. So yeah, just 1 though.
Just 1, yeah. And you know, there's just so many ways that you can lose that the 1v4 makes, it just doesn't seem very likely. That flash goes a little bit deeper. Maybe he gets some ridiculous 2K, but even then he's low. And look at that shot, my goodness. Through the fat side of the box as well.
3 for Shazam.
Really nice stuff.
Doing work with the scout.
So we'll see what it's worth. Maudie only had enough money for Inmac 10, so this wasn't a forcible purchase where it's maybe they'll send up a strategy around it, but it's not something that he wanted to have to use. Ooh. Timing shot from Mert isn't worth much. Stan knew that this was going to be a play he'd have to worry about. What's his rotation here? He's actually leaving Mini. They've only got 1 man upstairs. I think just wanted to support upstairs while his smoke was down to allow him to cross back. He won't be afforded that liberty moving forward in this round. And now Def playing from the position that Mertz was in. Moving up to where Stanislaw was last round. As the smokes go down outside. Will he find the same success?
I talked about this position and how you can get the multi-frags, and that's the prime example how. Blindsides both EC Tag and Freiberg. Quick fingers from Mertz seals the wound. Heroic still looking to scramble back into the round. They have no map control other than this red box. How do they find entry to the building itself? Oh, not by that direction. Shazam ready for Asilian and prepared for another peek. But he's got to be cautious. If he goes down, then this wraparound is open for the taking. It's time that could be the biggest issue. And now it's the body count. Mertz all alone.
Looks like we might have something of a game. First of all, good kills from Def to start things off. The good 2K made it a whole lot easier for his team to try to reposition. We don't know what happens there. Let's say if Def isn't playing outside, how they would adjust behind him. But with the info that they had, made it easy for Shazam to line up his kill when Heroic have to take a risk. Oh, and there it is. Mertz even gets spotted out and killed before the round is over. So could have been killed afterwards, but they didn't know he was there. So obviously they're going to take that opportunity, but it is simply the op out of the round. And here's that spray down, and you'd assume there's some additional damage as well. Mertz comes out with a quick trade. Not an easy one, by the way. Could have been 3.
Most certainly could have been, but
7 rounds. Can they do this? Can they at least make it competitive? compLexity look forward to an eco and have full utility to make sure they have minimal losses here. The only thing that Heroic are going to try to hinder. Will they get some kills?
7 rounds, a daunting task in and of itself, but 7 flawless rounds. 0 margin of error. And we've seen Heroic just burst through on that door to vent plate. Oh, Shazam. Hello. Heroic's here. And he picks himself up just 1. It's Android and Stan with another couple kills, and farewell Asilian. He is sent flying from the sky.
And Shazam has been lighting it up. I wonder where he, I mean, it's the CT side, so maybe he was looking forward to the CT side. But you can't have your eyes too wide for the side that you're not on. You've got to focus on the T side. If we had more rounds on the T side, we could say, whoa, Shazam's op right now is giving us signs that maybe there's a comeback in the works. But with, 15 rounds, the 7 match points in a row, it's like, wow, this is nice that he's playing so well, but this might be way too late.
See, here's the thing is, I think that if Shazam is going to be the piece that activates on the CT side to make this competitive, then one of the missing pieces in the first 15 was Ye on the entry frags. I mean, we're pretty deep in this game, and he still has only 5 kills.
Yeah, haven't you said he hasn't been playing well?
Been the lowest rated player since their fantastic run at the major.
Okay.
And he's kind of, he's recognized his personal slump. Like he's talked about it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so he's aware of it. He's trying to figure out what it is. But I think he is a key piece to those entries at times, and that was what kind of fell short, was the T side. If you're going to mount a decent CT half, that's great. But you only won 3 in the first 15, and that's where your fatal error may lie. But we're not there. This game is not done. However, Heroic are now well equipped. So we talked about the comeback happening. It's got to be 6 rounds more just to force OT. The job not even done.
Oh, no.
The big burst into the A site. Quick, swift kills, but even faster trades. Luckily, Def still gets the edge, and he's calling for his teammates to come over. EC tag underneath the heavens. Now the last one up. Quick execution through the head of Def. And Shazam's going to miss his shot, but he puts down the flames at the feet. That forces him into the open, and it enables compLexity to grab those double digits.
Oh my God, if Shazam missed that shot, if Ye got that, sorry, who was that down? Who's that? EC tag?
EC tag on the bomb site.
If he got that other kill, Shazam has no business peeking down from heaven. So that would have been quite crazy to see that. Kind of relieved for compLexity that they managed to win it. But it looked like a good play upstairs. There wasn't much attention on both Hut and Squeaky, and Stan was more concerned about outside than anything else. So with his attention turned away, his teammate gets traded 1 for 1, and he ends up getting a kill at the very least. And now Heroic are going back to what worked for them in the past on a full buy, running downstairs. 3 players here, making tons of ground, and Def actually got it caught off guard. This time, it was Shazam in the past. He maybe didn't hand over the notes, and now his teammates are in a much more jeopardized position.
It's not the first time we've seen players caught in that exact same position, and now it's Freiburg up close with this Tech 9. Oh, Rec 9 maybe. Just bursts forward, drops Ye, the entirety of ramp control's gone, and Heroic are looking to rob away this round, sealing the deal at 16-10. They have found Android, and they pinch him from behind. The Danes reign supreme here on Nuke because it's in their blood. One hell of a CT side, Launders. We knew compLexity were then fighting this uphill battle. We had this re-emergence. They lost Pistol in the beginning of the second half and still managed to force buy it back. They created an opportunity, but they also created their own demise when that first half fell so flat.
There's a small comeback involved, but it seemed like with that last lower play, we saw that Heroic had so much left over to give. They had only started to, and there was an eco where they did something that worked really well for them early on that got them to match point in the first place. They just threw it back in. They're like, hey, we can do this again. We could do a split outside next time. We'll try to abuse lower, though, and that was definitely the key play and the correct thing to do. And obviously, it comes down to Freiburg hitting those 2 Tech 9 kills to just lock it up.
It's about abusing that quick play as well, I think. I mean, when you're playing that rapid pace, when you're just exploding into a bomb site like that, it's only going to work maybe once or twice in a game. But when you only need 3 rounds on an entire T side, all you need is 1 or 2. So it costs them in the end. complexity going to fall short, and they will be facing the winner of LDLC versus Existence Galaxy, an outcome that we'll have tomorrow. It's a clean 2-0 for Heroic as they book their way to the semifinals. Let's give this one back to Stunna and boys on the desk.
You know, you guys were talking about pinching the behind there, and that's exactly what happened. And you know what the biggest oof of all that is losing on eco round, boys.
Yeah, Tech 9 coming out was like getting flashbacks right there, Pip.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty.
He was not pretty at all. Yeah, the map ban not... I had my doubts about that map pick and not really working out for them. That T side just fell flat completely. Heroic, great showing for them. Again, complexity, they show that they can play that CD side. They can win rounds. Got 10 rounds there, not bad at all, but in the end, when you're like, what, 12-3 down, it's always going to be an uphill task, no matter, even if you're on the CD side.
I definitely agree. I think this was a super dominant performance from Heroic. I think in all aspects of the game, they're just better. We get to see Merge going completely off on the CT side as well. Completely dictating the game, roaming around with AVP, being very versatile, being very, you know, very much on the move, so to speak. So he makes it super, super tough for the complexity guys to do anything. I mean, they had nothing to offer on the T side. They tried the defaults towards ramp, they tried defaults towards inside, they tried default towards outside, and no matter where they went, you know, they had one or two guys from Heroic lineup just shutting them down, in particular Merge with AVP, constantly making sure they couldn't be safe anywhere. So kudos to Heroic once again for playing such a well-played game, and I think so far what we've seen today is that Heroic is by far the best playing team of the tournament, so it looks really, really good for them.
At least the most well-drilled, most well-oiled team here so far. And I guess for some of these teams, it's not something where we could say they haven't been tested, but perhaps that is going to be the storyline. But this is certainly a story of CT halves, at least in this game. It's really hard to come back from a deficit that is a 12-3 there in your first half. But Nuke, I don't know, boys. I mean, historically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard, right? And especially starting on the T side, if things don't really start going your way, it can kind of capitulate. And just look at this, right? One thing I've liked about Heroic so far today has been everyone's been performing. Everyone's been putting in the numbers. Sure, Mertz has been the star, but look at this. Like, Modi had great rounds, even in the previous game as well. S-Stack stepped up. You said Freiburg versus Android. Funnily enough, both the players actually played pretty decently, but yay. Once again, like, you know, you need him to step up. He's a star player, he's a breakout player when complexity had that run in the major, and he's just been nowhere to be found.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's missing from the lineup right now. There's something that is not working on complexity right now, because what I felt we saw at the major was them being well-drilled. I thought them having a lot of answers to what they met, so they had a lot of different ideas of what to work around and how to work around the teams they're playing. Whereas I feel today, as soon as they meet a little bit of resistance, they just fail flat straight away.
Well, you want to talk about answers, and perhaps we can get some from this next gentleman. Freiburg, we did catch up with you earlier, bud, and not really surprised to catch up with you again. In fact, let's start to talk about your CTs, man. It seems like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, Nuke has always been one of those maps for us. Even before I joined this team, Heroic was really good on Nuke, and we are still really good on the map, even though we had some problems with it recently in Bangkok, in that tournament. I think that we still have a good idea on the map. We kind of worked on the mistakes, or we talked about them that happened in Bangkok, and we were excited actually to play it here, because we didn't think we would get to play it. But we were happily surprised when we managed to get it against complexity.
Were you surprised? Like, it was down to Dust 2 and Nuke, I think it was, and they did go for the Nuke pick. Were you a little surprised with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they thought we were going to play Mirage, but we banned it the last because we feel really confident on both Dust 2 and Nuke. And we lost Mirage against them our previous game in, that was the Summit we played there. And so we were just like, you know, Dust 2 or Nuke, I think we can beat them on both. Let's go.
How's the mood in the team right now, Adam? I feel like the entire team looks solid. You know, we talked about all of you guys showing up all the time. We talked about you guys winning tournaments. Are you happy right now?
For sure. Why wouldn't I be? We just won a tournament. We come back here. This is the last offline tournament of the year. So we're just here, you know, want to finish off the year on a good note. And yeah, I think the mood is as good as it could be.
Well, I guess one last question I'm going to have for you this, Freiberg, and I know it's an interesting perspective to kind of take and look at the compLexity lineup who did find success within the major and kind of struggling to find their identity. What would you say about them now?
I think they are still a good team, no doubt about it. I mean, we lost against them in the summit. I'm still gonna say it though, you know, majors and here and there. It's one tournament. People could have, like we have seen the last couple of majors. There has been flukes. What do you call them? Like I don't know. Like I'm not saying compLexity is a bad team, but the way that they performed at that tournament was just like a little bit above what maybe they are like, you know, on average how they're gonna perform. We've seen like QB Fire was the same, and it's just CS. You know, you could have a really good tournament, and in a major it could get you really far.
Yeah, well, I think you're onto something with that. And on that note, we're going to let you go. Thank you, Adam. Enjoy your entire day off tomorrow, bud.
Thank you very much.
Interesting take there, but yeah, I think he's definitely got at least the right idea about compLexity.
I like Freiberg for the fact that he's pretty blunt about it, and I do agree with him on that, right? compLexity, apart from that performance in a major, they have been punching above their weight, so to speak, and they haven't really shown what they could do there. Yes, they are a good team. Yes, like they have confidence that, hey, you know what, we're going to take them on Nuke and all that. But confidence is a separate thing altogether, but actually putting in the numbers and getting the work done and winning those games, I think that's what matters. I think they're kind of falling short here.
Allow me to take the gloves off then. I think they're pushing way below the level right now. With the financial backing this team have, with the background they have, you know, the players as well, and what they did at the major, I don't think it's acceptable to play at this level right now. And I think they feel that themselves too. I'm not trying to nag on them. I'm not going to say here that they're a bad team. I just want to, you know, point out the fact that we saw a certain level at the major, and yeah, it may have been a fluke, yeah, it may have been that one tournament, but it showed us what they're capable of. So you should be able to recreate that at least within the span of 6 months, and we haven't seen nowhere near that level ever since the major. So I don't think that's good enough for them.
But that also happens, right? When you have these newer players and new teams coming, and they play a really good event, like a major, or like maybe a Cologne, for example. You kind of get a little complacent. You kind of be like, hey, you know what? We've achieved something very reminiscent of Cloud9 after they won the E-League Major, for example, right? And they could have kind of put their foot off the gas pedal. But that's a problem. I mean, you're still a young team. You still have a lot to prove. You cannot slow down right now. I think that's the biggest problem here.
Conclusion, they were not as good as we thought them.
Well, they're not out yet. They're just down a little bit, guys. There's a little bit of positivity. My goodness. Anyway, let's move forward. We've got one more match left today. Bravado and G2. Kenny S was just standing right here, actually. We kind of had this hug thing happen, and then we talked about that anger that he's going to be taking into this next matchup, the final winners match of the day, and in fact, the final best of one of the day. And boy, when Kenny's angry, you don't want to be on the other end of the op there. And in fact, we're going to a break, so when we come back, make sure you're with us.